So let's talk about something that's like really close to all of us, purpose. You know, that sense of meaning we're all looking for. That feeling that what we're doing actually matters. I mean, come on, who doesn't want that, right? Now here's the thing. When we hear purpose, a lot of us think of some big life mission, something super profound, something that's going to change the world or whatever. But then what if I told you it doesn't have to be all that complicated? What if finding purpose could start with just small steps, little things that over time totally change how we see ourselves and our lives? And here's where it gets interesting. This is exactly where neuroscience and Buddhism come into play. Yup, I know, sounds like an unlikely team, right? But both actually agree on one thing. Change doesn't have to be this huge, overwhelming thing. In fact, it's the small, consistent changes that really rewire our brain and help us see the world in a new light. Buddhism teaches us that life is always moving, always changing. Nothing stays the same, you know. So our purpose, it's got to be flexible too, always evolving with us. And neuroscience, it's right there backing that up. Our brains are wired for change, but it's the tiny changes that actually stick. It's like every small shift in the way we think or act. It's like adding one little piece to a puzzle. Over time, those pieces create a picture we can actually feel proud of. So today, we're going to dive into how you can start finding purpose bit by bit, step by step. Don't worry, no huge life overhaul needed, just a few small tweaks. And trust me, you'll be surprised at how powerful those can be. Ready? And here's where the brain, neuroscience alert, gets really interesting. See, our brains are wired to look for meaning, to feel like we're moving towards something. You know that feeling when you're totally into what you're doing, when you just feel like locked in? That's your brain getting a nice dose of dopamine, the chemical that makes us feel rewarded and motivated. It's like a little yes from your brain saying, hey, keep going, you're onto something here. But here's the catch. Sometimes we aim too big. We set these massive goals like, I want to change my life, or I need to find my purpose, and it just feels overwhelming. Our brains, they're not exactly fans of things that seem impossible. In fact, when a goal feels too big, our brain kind of shuts down like, nope, I can't do that. It's a total motivation killer. So, what does work? Small wins, little realistic goals that give our brains that dopamine kick. Neuroscience shows us that when we take on things that are small, manageable, and consistent, our brain actually rewards us. Every little step, every tiny accomplishment, it's all adding up bit by bit. And you know what's cool? Those little actions, over time, actually start rewiring the brain. They create new connections that make us feel more motivated, more purposeful, without all the pressure. Think of it this way. Imagine you're stacking small blocks one by one. You don't see much change at first, but as you keep going, one block here, one block there, suddenly you have this solid structure. And that's what purpose is like, building it piece by piece until it becomes something strong. Now let's bring in some wisdom from Buddhism, because honestly, Buddhism has been talking about purpose way before neuroscience was even a thing. And you know what's amazing? Buddhism and brain science are kind of saying the same thing. Purpose isn't some huge thing we find all at once. It's something we cultivate little by little, every single day. So, here's a big idea in Buddhism: impermanence. Everything is always changing, including us. The world around us, our thoughts, even our goals, they're all in this constant state of flow. So if we're changing, it makes sense that our purpose is going to change too, right? We don't need to have it all figured out from the start. Buddhism teaches us to embrace this flow and not get stuck trying to find one perfect purpose. Then there's the concept of dharma. That's a word in Buddhism that's kind of like purpose, but with a twist. Dharma isn't just about achieving big things. It's about aligning with what's authentic to us. In simple terms, it's about living in a way that feels true to who we are. And here's where it gets really cool. Buddhism says that when we live with compassion, kindness, and patience, even in tiny ways, we're already living with purpose. We're already creating good, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us. No grand gestures needed, just simple, real actions. And, okay, here's where mindfulness comes in. It's like Buddhism's superpower. Mindfulness is all about being present, noticing what's happening right now instead of stressing over the past or future. This practice helps us see what actually matters to us in this moment. When we're mindful, we're more aware of what brings us peace, joy, and purpose, and we can choose those small actions that feel in line with that. So think of it like this. Every day when we practice compassion, when we're mindful, when we're true to what feels right, we're building our purpose. It's kind of like watering a plant. You give it a little attention each day, and over time, it grows. That's the Buddhist approach to purpose. It's not about chasing big dreams, but making small, intentional choices that bring us back to who we really are. All right, so now that we've got this idea that purpose is something we build step by step, let's talk about how to actually make this happen in real life. No big dramatic shifts, just small, simple actions that get us feeling more aligned and motivated. 1. Start with reflection, weekly check-ins. First up, let's talk about taking a little time each week to reflect. Now, I'm not saying you have to sit in silence for hours or anything like that. Just 5 minutes, grab a notebook, and ask yourself a few simple questions like, what did I do this week that made me feel closer to my values? Or, what small thing could I add next week that would make me feel more connected to my purpose? These reflections can help us see the tiny things we're already doing that align with who we want to be. 2. Set micro goals, little wins that build big purpose. Now, neuroscience backs this up big time. Remember that dopamine boost we talked about? We get that every time we accomplish something. So let's make it easy to feel that win. Try setting small, super manageable goals that feel realistic. Like instead of saying, I'm going to meditate every morning for 30 minutes, start with something tiny, like I'll meditate for 2 minutes each morning. Or instead of thinking, I need to find a new job to feel fulfilled, maybe set a goal to explore one new hobby or skill this month. Little steps like these, they keep that dopamine coming, so we're more likely to stick with these positive changes. 3. Practice mindful awareness. Catch the little moments. Here's something straight out of Buddhism, mindful awareness. It's all about slowing down and actually noticing the small moments that bring us a sense of peace or joy. Try this. Next time you're doing something simple like drinking your morning coffee or taking a short walk, just pause for a second. Notice how you're feeling, what's around you. Really take it in. These small, mindful pauses can connect us to a sense of purpose, reminding us that it's not just about the big stuff, but about finding meaning in everyday moments. 4. Journaling and tracking progress. All right, here's a practical tool. Keep a journal or even just a notes app to track your little wins. Write down one thing each day that made you feel more aligned with your purpose, or one small change you tried that day. Over time, when you look back at these entries, you'll start to see the progress. It's a nice little reminder of how all those small changes add up, and it keeps us motivated to keep going. So these are all small, realistic actions, right? The idea here is to start today, no matter how small the step. We're building purpose and motivation by stacking these tiny wins, week by week. And remember, each small shift is a piece of the bigger picture. So, that's it. I hope you're feeling a bit more connected to the idea of purpose now, that it's not some huge, unreachable goal, but actually something you can build up, one small step at a time. Remember, it's like we talked about, purpose isn't fixed. It's not some giant thing we have to chase after or find out there somewhere. It's something that grows with us, something we create with each little decision we make. And hey, if there's one thing to take away from all this, let it be this. Those tiny steps, they really do add up. Each small change you make, whether it's reflecting for a few minutes each week, setting those micro goals, or just being a little more mindful, every one of those choices is helping shape your purpose. And guess what? Your brain loves that. It's rewarding you along the way, building those new connections that make all this feel more natural over time. So here's my little challenge for you. Think of just one small thing you could start doing today. Just one. Maybe it's pausing to be more present for a few moments, or maybe setting a super manageable goal that feels right for you. Whatever it is, start there and watch where it takes you. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. What's one small change you're thinking of making? Or if you've already started, share what's been working for you. Let's learn from each other. We're all on this journey together after all. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos on neuroscience, Buddhism, and little ways to live a more meaningful life. Thanks for sticking around. And remember, every small step you take is bringing you closer to the person you want to be. So keep going. You've got this.